We're now joined by the president of Montclair State University, my alma mater. We are joined by Jonathan Koppell. Good to see you, Mr. President.
Good to see you, Steve. It's always a pleasure to meet with our distinguished alumni.
Well, there are a lot more distinguished alums than me. Good thing I paid my library fines so I could graduate. Hey, listen, 1 year under your belt as we do this program in the summer of 2022.
Almost. I'm a month out, but
what is the biggest challenge you face right now in the summer of 2022 as president?
Well, look, I mean, higher education's in a moment of adaptation, right? You know, all of us are sort of trying to figure out what universities are going to look like 5 years from now, and so that's the sort of big picture challenge. Honestly, this is going to be a funny one because a lot of universities have the opposite problem. We're looking at a larger number of students enrolling for their first years in the fall than we've ever had before.
Why do you think that is?
And so that's exciting. Obviously, it's a good problem to have. But I think what's happening is students are discovering just how much Montclair has to offer. And so they're eager to come to an institution where our students graduate, they have success after graduation, they have a great experience while they're here. And so now we need to scale up to accommodate them.
You know, we've talked to many of your colleagues, presidents of universities on the public side, on the private side, independent, et cetera. The question of affordability, Jonathan, talk about it. College affordability, for many, it's just not affordable. Talk about A, how serious that problem is in spite of the enrollment numbers you're talking about, and B, what needs to be done.
It is a real issue. You know, the way that we provide higher education in this country has shifted dramatically over the last 30 years, where we used to, as a society, embrace the idea that higher education is a public good, and therefore the taxpayers are going to invest in it, and that allows the universities to keep the tuition down. That's shifted. So now, as you know, the percentage of the budget that comes from the state has steadily gone down. That's not a New Jersey thing. That's all over the country. New Jersey's, you know, in the lower half, but it's not the lowest. What that has meant is that in order to pay the bills, the burden has shifted to students, and so tuition has crept up. We're really proud at Montclair to have manage the tuition burden as well as anybody. We're at the bottom of the list in terms of cost to students, and one of the most efficient universities in New Jersey. But there's no doubt that for folks who are struggling to make ends meet, particularly in an inflationary environment, it's a lift. I would say this: there's no better investment that somebody can make, right? So we should talk about student loans and debt, because I know that's on a lot of people's minds. It's a great investment. It's better than buying a car. It's better than buying stocks. The ROI on a college education is second to none. And that remains the case. So we do our best to manage costs, but the most important thing is to make sure that students are getting value for their investment.
Let me follow up on this. Actually, two of our top executive producers came from Montclair State University. I happen to teach a course about a decade, a little more than that, I'm realizing now. And both of those producers were in that class. They were the best students. They are two of our best producers. The reason I'm asking is not about my teaching at the university all those years ago, but it's this. Montclair State has made a big investment on the media side, studio production, media production, journalism, et cetera. While the industry has changed dramatically, how has the university adapted to have not just the course offerings, but the entire program around media changed?
And that's part of the answer to the previous question as well, right? So you've got to make sure that you're constantly updating yourself so that the students are getting the skills and tools that they need to be successful post-graduation. So our School of Communications and Media is a perfect example, because we're at the cutting edge, both from a technology point of view. Our students are working on the same equipment that your team is using today. So when a student graduates from Montclair, they are ready. They're not working on 30-year-old equipment. They're at the edge, and we're constantly pushing. So we just launched, as far as we know, the first university streaming service in the country. So, you know, like a Hulu or whatever, like we have our own Hawk Plus, and our students are learning how to deliver media in that way. Our Red Hawk Sports Network has students producing content on a daily basis on their own.
That's Montclair State University Sports, but go ahead.
Right. It's our Red Hawk Sports Network. They're covering all Montclair State, but they produce their own shows. They do, their own game day, and they're doing the technical aspects. They're doing the play-by-play. Our students are ready post-graduation to be employed, and they know how to do their jobs because hands-on learning is part of our educational process. That's true if you're in communications. It's true if you're in theater. It's true if you're in business. That's the philosophy, right? Which is make college work for the students while they're in school, but also when they graduate, and that's going to make that investment worthwhile.
Yeah, you're talking about Montclair State Sports. I'm embarrassed to say this. I'm sure, has anyone ever mentioned to you my time playing football at Montclair State University?
It's legendary.
No, I didn't think so.
It's legendary.
No, I didn't think so. It's all right. It's not about me. It was undistinguished. That's all I'm going to say. So how about this real quick before I let you go? Being involved in the community. I happen to live in Montclair State University, just up the road, if you will. Being involved in the community is challenging because you're dealing with all these issues, but I know that there are relationships in the community, including with one of our partners, Montclair Film. Details have to be worked out. But that being said, why is it so important for a university in a community to be involved and engaged in the community?
It's absolutely essential, Steve. My view is that we are a public university, not because we get some money from the state, that's important, but because our job is to serve the public, right? And I've always been excited that universities have this amazing potential to address needs and to help communities achieve their aspirations. And so we're engaged in Montclair. We're really excited about the things that we're doing in Patterson. We have a long history of working in Newark. Our program to encourage and support young people in Newark to go and be school teachers in their own neighborhoods in Newark. It's gotten national attention. A university that doesn't serve the public interest isn't really fulfilling its mandate as a public university, and we should be judged by how well the communities we serve are thriving.
That is President of Montclair State University, Jonathan Koppell. Mr. President, thank you so much for joining us, Jonathan. Well done.
Thank you for having me. I hope we have other opportunities in the future.
We will. All the best. I'm Steve Adubato. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, TD Bank, the Fidelco Group, University Hospital, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, Choose New Jersey, Operating Engineers, Local 825, New Brunswick Development Corporation, and by NJM Insurance Group. Promotional support provided by NJ.com and by New Jersey Globe.
I'm Tim Sullivan, CEO of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Since joining the NJEDA, I've been struck by the incredible assets and resources that New Jersey has to offer. The NJEDA is working every day to grow New Jersey's economy in a way that maximizes the values of those assets to benefit every single New Jersey resident. This includes more support for small businesses and a focus on reclaiming New Jersey's position as a leader in the innovation economy. Visit njeda.com to learn more about how NJEDA is building a stronger and fairer New Jersey economy.